All right, in this presentation, we're going to learn about Japan. Now, what makes Japan unique to the civilizations that we've examined in this course so far is that it is an island nation. And it's relatively isolated from other societies and cultures of East Asia. Yet, with the increasing internationalization of China's commerce, Chinese influence was successfully adapted to first Korean and then existing Japanese customs and social norms over a period of time beginning in the early centuries of the Common Era. Japan is a chain of islands encompassing 146,000 square miles of land. There are four main islands of Japan: Hokkaido, Honshu, Kyushu, and Shikoku. Now, Japan is situated off the Korean Peninsula and Manchuria from 120 miles and more, depending on location. The land is mountainous, with 20% suitable for agriculture, and climates ranging from subarctic to temperate. Now, due to its geographic isolation, the Japanese believe they have a separate identity and destiny from the rest of Asia. Historians refer to their culture as the most homogeneous in Asia, hence no need to assimilate numerous immigrants or to make concessions. Yet, Korea is heavily involved in Japanese ethnicity, and China is impressed in its linguistic heritage. The Japanese are of mixed ethnic origins, and the language is derived from the same root language that produced the Mongol and Korean languages. In fact, bronze and iron was introduced by a migration of Koreans into Japan. So if you take a look, I'm wearing a scarf that says "Certain Victory." So despite its claims to homogeneity, in reality, Japan, like any other nation, is an ocean of diversity. It is home to multiple minority groups. And one of the most important groups, and the reason why I'm wearing this, which means certain victory, are the indigenous people of Hokkaido, the Ainu. And this is why I'm wearing this in their honor. Because in 2008, the Japanese government, after years of discrimination, of forced elimination, and cultural extinction, reversed course and recognized the Ainu as Japan's original people. Now, according to activists defending the right of the Ainu to exist, while the origin of the Ainu people and language is, for the most part, unknown, there is a theory suggesting the people are descendants of the Jomonjin, or the ecologically sensitive communities who inhabited Japan during the Jomon period from 14,000 BC to 300 AD, and perhaps even before. Now, the Ainu believed all things are inhabited by spirits known as Kamai, with the most important representing bears and mountains. Kimun Kamoi. The animals are thought to be manifestations of the supernatural on earth, with the bear having the ultimate power representing the divine. Now, around the year 300 AD, another group known as the Yayoi made their way to the islands of Japan, introducing new agricultural techniques and technology and integrating with the Jomon people. It is believed that the Yayoi group may not have reached as far as the northern island of Hokkaido, allowing the Jomon way of life to survive in that area. Now, these settler societies organized into clans, creating surplus production, allowing for specialization. The staple crop became wet rice. It was grown in flooded fields for a majority of its life cycle. As the marketing systems advanced, an aristocratic class took control of the productive forces through the use of the servant class, a servant-slave class, extracting surplus from farmers and artisans. Incorporating the Ainu beliefs in their religious system and their religious outlook, the Yayoi created Shinto, or the way of the spirits. And the people became the descendants of Amaterasu, the female sun, who is immortal and benevolent. And one time, all things, plants, animals, rocks, trees, spoke and interacted with humans. Forced into silence, humans were now required to listen to their powers through kami, or the spirits that inhabit them. And through foreign trade, or though foreign trade was not existent until the 11th century, Chinese imports did reach Japan in the early centuries through Korea. Silk, porcelain, books, copper, and Buddhism arrived. During the 6th century, the Zen sect of Buddhism took root as the most popular, followed by the Pure Land and the Nichiren sects. Ethical action and compassion for the weak and unfortunate transformed Japanese life. And simplicity and joyful acceptance of life and happiness in an eternal heaven blended nicely with and complemented Shinto. And this relationship between Japan and Korea became increasingly important, especially as Buddhism took root. Now, eventually, a ruler from the Yamato clan from the dominant island of Honshu united the local territories of the island societies and centralized power. Shotoku Taishi, a devout Buddhist and influenced by the organizational rule of the Tang dynasty, limited the power of the aristocracy, claimed direct descent from Amaterasu, and founded the imperial state of what is now the city of Osaka. Shotoku took the title of Emperor Divine and divided the island into administrative districts for taxation, usurping farmland to ensure disbursement of agricultural surplus to the entire population. Shotoku introduced the 17-point constitution, inspired by Buddhist and Confucian doctrines. Please consult the textbook to appreciate what a government and loyal citizenry ought to do. Now, this list of ethical principles influences the Japanese government through today. Buddhism became the universal religion favored by the ruling class since it was used as a vehicle for strengthening and clarifying the role of centralized government. Shotoku sent selected youth to Tang China to study and train under teachers, artists, and officials. While this proved to be a deliberate cultural transfer from one people to another, the Japanese ruling elite selectively applied the Chinese model, allowing individual transferable rights to land and preserving government aristocratic privileges, preventing lower classes from attaining high posts regardless of merit. The dynasty that began with the Yamato clan leaders has never been overturned. Which brings us to what is known as the Nara and Heian period. With the death of Prince Shotoku in 1622, members of the Fujiwara clan intermarried with the Yamato, retained the figurehead of the emperor, seized control of the state, and by 710 established the capital at Nara, only to be moved to a new town called Heian, modern-day Kyoto, in 794. Dramatic power struggles occurred between the aristocracy and the ruling families and their bureaucracy. When the emperor moved the capital city to Heian, decentralization of government began. So please read the textbook to appreciate how the Fujiwara clan ruled from behind the throne by arranging marriages between their daughters and the sons of the monarchs, and then having themselves nominated as regents. Heian became the focus of political life, but the countryside diverged from the central state. So after 2 centuries, the system is going to break down into rivalries as outlying provinces challenge the hegemony of the Fujiwara monopoly. The provinces hired warriors, known as bushi in Japan or samurai in the West. These were the executors of the wills of the large landholders and the enforcers of the public order. The samurai, or those who serve, developed a code of conduct called Bushido, the way of the warrior. And the code included training, or very strict training, in a variety of fields: military, literary, and culinary. The most honorable code was the expectation to die rather than surrender. So we enter what is known as the Kamakura period. In the 12th century, samurai alliances fought for dominance through a series of wars between 2 clans, the Taira and the Minamoto, culminating in what is known as the Genpei War between 1180 and 1185, where the victorious Minamoto established a military-dominated government known as the shogunate. The shogun became the leader of Japan, with the emperor serving a ceremonial role. The center of government became the town of Kamakura, and the period of Minamoto rule became known by that name. Minamoto Yoritomo began the period where power rested in the hands of the shogun, who ruled by the sword, while the Japanese people revered the emperor with divine statues as the figurehead. Please read in the textbook how the shogunate system resembled European feudalism, where the shoen, or fiefs, were parceled out to lords who had rights, shiki, to the land and its produce. The only difference between the two systems was the bakufu, or the military government under the shogun, whereas in Europe, the lord obeyed his master, the king. The shogun was totally independent of the emperor and the real ruler of Japan. So the true test of the Kamakura shogunate came when the Mongols twice launched an armada and invaded from bases in Korea, landing on Kyushu. The Mongols called off the first invasion after the shogunate proved resistant. Then the second attack in 1281 ended in disaster when a typhoon known as the kamikaze, or in Japanese, the divine wind, sank the armada, killing 140,000 Mongol warriors, saving the Kamakura. The Mongolian invasion, though, put a financial strain on the shogunate's power. And during the 14th and 15th centuries, local aristocrats and their samurai vied for power and prominence. In 1336, the Ashikaga clan succeeded in establishing themselves through a system called daimyo. This was control of large estates of farmland protected by samurai. Power was held through decentralized groups of daimyo, leading to rebellion and conflicts in the outer provinces. And this competition led to what is known as the Onin War, an island-wide civil war that lasted from 1467 to 1477. Centralized government collapsed, Kyoto was destroyed and depopulated, and Japan fell into a state of internal and constant warfare. Now, when we take a look at women's experiences in Japan, they shared a measure of equality compared to other civilizations thus studied. Not only did women inherit property, they could divorce and remarry. Women took an active role in society, many playing prominent roles in aristocratic courts, and others became known for their literary and artistic capacities. Japanese literature became a female occupation. The world's first novel, The Tale of Genji, written by Murasaki Shikibu between 1015 and 1025, reflects her experiences in the Kyoto Imperial Palace, where she witnessed sensitive and perceptive people taking pleasure in nature. So please consult the textbook to appreciate women's contribution to poetry, painting, and to the cultivation of beauty in all of its manifestations. The most artistic development in Japan was influenced by Buddhism, where balance and harmony with nature was the focus of life. So when we appreciate the Japanese, their landscape gardens, their architecture reflect this emphasis on balance and harmony, and witness the Golden Pavilion in Kyoto. So I'm going to ask you now to please view the film that follows this presentation so that we can appreciate the Japanese experience.